Alright guys, we're in Numbers chapter 11. Been reading through Numbers now for a little bit and got all the way up to chapter 11. Haven't made a video in a couple days, just I've been sick. But as I'm reading through this, something had jumped out at me. It's the end of verse 4 all the way to 6 and then 18 through 20. And basically what's happening here is the children of Israel are they're they're in the desert and they're following around the Spirit of God, who appears in a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, and is leading them where they're supposed to go. When He stops, they stop, and when He goes, they pack up and go. And this whole time that they've all through Exodus and now through Leviticus and now into Numbers, they've still been eating manna that God had provided for them. It was that heavenly bread type substance that that God had rained down for them to be able to eat. And in verse 4, the Israelites are complaining, and it says, "Who shall give us flesh to eat? We remember the fish which we did eat freely, or which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes." So they're complaining here that they actually ate better when they were in Egypt. And this is, remember that as we're looking at the Exodus itself, not just the book of Exodus, but the Exodus through the wilderness, we're looking at this as being symbolic of the Christian life. And the New Testament talks about how the person that pulls away from the Lord will have no joy in him. And there's even some pretty staunch warnings on pulling away and returning back to our old life. And sometimes we have a tendency to look at the trials and the tribulations that we're going through as Christians, and we look back at our former selves and question, was it better then? Was it easier? I didn't have these problems then. And that's basically what the Israelites are doing here is they're looking back at their fleshly pleasures, so to speak, and they're forgetting the fact that they now have a relationship with God, which they did not have before. And they're doing the same thing that Esau did, where he gave up his birthright for a pot of porridge. So we go to verse 18, and God answers their prayer, and or not their prayer, but their complaining, and He says to Moses, "And say thou unto the people, sanctify yourselves against tomorrow, and ye shall eat flesh, for ye have wept in the ears of the Lord, saying, Who shall give us flesh to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give you flesh, and ye shall eat. Ye shall not eat 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days, but even a whole month, until it comes out your nostrils, and it be loathsome unto you, because ye have despised the Lord which is among you, and ye have wept before Him, saying, Why came we forth out of Egypt?" So God tells him, okay, I'll answer your prayer. If you want flesh to eat, I'll give you flesh to eat. But when he goes through here and he says that you have despised the Lord, what he's saying is you have sought after the things that I can do for you, and you have not sought after me. You now have a relationship with me, and you're still longing back for those things that you had back in Egypt. And this is, once again, this is not a case of these people becoming, it's evidence of these people not having a relationship with God, that their relationship was based on what God could do for them, not based on who God is. And sometimes we have a tendency to go down that road, and we had troubles and trials, and we had problems, and we want God to save us from them, and then as soon as we get saved from them, it's right back to the way that we were. And that's not a real relationship with God. So this is something that had kind of jumped out at me. I wanted to share that with you guys, and I hope and pray that each one of us kind of looks at ourselves and looks at our relationship and values that relationship with the Creator more than the things that He could do for us. So, all right, you guys, God bless.